Sometimes a relationship goes through so many arguments, misunderstandings, and emotional injuries that you eventually find yourself facing one hard question. Should we keep going, or is it finally time to let go? And the answer isn't always clear or easy. Emotional bonds don't resolve themselves through logic alone. While part of you might be asking, is this worth fighting for? Another part might be whispering, but what if I can't live without them? As a culture, we've come to glorify staying in relationships, pushing through, working hard to keep things intact. And yes, protecting a relationship, nurturing a family, showing effort, these are all valuable. But here's the reality. Not every relationship gets better through more struggle. Sometimes the fight itself becomes the very thing that wears it down, right? On-off dynamics, the cycles of breaking up and getting back together place a significant emotional burden on the nervous system. The brain can't find peace. It's constantly scanning for threat, bracing for impact. In this video, we're going to explore whether a worn-out relationship can truly be repaired, okay? Through a 5-step process, you'll be able to assess more clearly and more honestly whether it's something worth saving or something it's time to walk away from. These steps aren't just ideas. They're based on real experiences, tested strategies, and repeated observations across hundreds of people. If you're trying to fix what's broken or trying to decide if it's beyond repair, these 5 steps will help you find clarity. When a relationship is marked by repeated arguments, chronic tension, and emotional volatility, the nervous system shifts into a constant state of fight or flight. In that state, even love can begin to feel heavy, like an emotional burden rather than a source of connection. Sitting in the same room becomes uncomfortable. A look, a word, even a tone of voice can feel triggering. At this point, what the relationship needs most isn't more conversation or more effort. The first step is space. Intentional, healthy distance. When the nervous system is overwhelmed by repeated stressors, it starts to interpret every interaction as a potential threat. Even the simplest sentence can land like an attack. In order for any relationship to return to a place of genuine communication, there needs to be a reset. That reset often looks like 15 to 30 days of both emotional and physical space. This isn't a breakup. It's a recovery window. Both the mind and the heart need time to reorganize. Both people need space to return to their own emotional center. This kind of space has to be established with clarity and mutual agreement. Each person needs to be able to say, right now, we're not good for each other. This relationship can't breathe, and I want to give it space, not to abandon it, but to protect it. During this time, contact should pause. No texting, no calls, not because you're cutting ties, but because you're creating space for something better to grow. Think of it not as distance, but as a detox, physically and emotionally. And often, it's the only way to find out if this relationship can still breathe, okay? One of the biggest sources of resistance to taking space is the fear of what if they leave. This fear often has less to do with the relationship itself and more to do with a lack of self-trust. If you believe that giving your partner just 3 or 5 days of space will push them into someone else's arms, then it's worth asking, is this truly a problem in the relationship, or is it rooted in your own sense of self-worth? Because trust is the foundation of any relationship, but it must start with the trust you have in yourself. At the core of this fear is often a feeling of inadequacy. The brain, especially if it has experienced abandonment or rejection in the past, becomes hyper alert to the possibility of it happening again from an attachment theory perspective. Individuals with anxious attachment styles tend to perceive time apart as a sign of being left behind. But in a healthy relationship, and for a healthy individual, distance is not a threat. It's breathing room, and if someone turns away from you just because you took a few days for yourself, the question is not whether you were enough, it's whether they were ever emotionally mature to begin with. Real connection doesn't flourish under surveillance. The constant need for contact and reassurance is not love, it's fear wearing the mask of love. The inability to tolerate space doesn't reveal the depth of a relationship. Often it exposes its fragility. That's why offering your partner a temporary space is actually one of the most powerful ways to assess the strength of your bond, right? Because someone who is truly meant to be in your life won't disappear in 3 days. And if they do, maybe they were never really present at all. When emotional balance starts to break down in a relationship, especially for younger individuals, it often triggers a kind of panic. The brain begins to perceive any moment of disconnection as a threat, and the natural response to that perceived threat is to cling. Back-to-back calls, repeated messages, constant attempts to reestablish contact. It's actually an instinctive form of self-soothing. But the irony is, it usually backfires. Because the more someone feels smothered, the more they instinctively pull away.
Don't forget to subscribe.
We see this dynamic often with younger people. The mind, fueled by passion and urgency, screams, "I can't let go." But that emotional intensity, when driven by fear, becomes invasive. Every phone call, every desperate say, "Eric, you better come over right now." It's not love. It's the controlling edge of fear. And when someone is consistently under emotional pressure, they don't just want to escape the relationship. They start wanting to escape you. This pattern doesn't just damage the relationship, it chips away at your own sense of self-worth. The constant "please don't leave me" energy turns inward, gradually convincing you that you're not enough on your own. And let's be clear, this isn't something only women do. Men can be just as emotionally controlling, no matter the gender. If you forget that your partner is a separate, breathing human being who also needs space, the bond becomes less about love and more about confinement. And here's the truth. Just like any living being, people need space to breathe. Eric does. And so do you, okay? Don't isolate yourself during the break. Taking space from a relationship should never mean cutting yourself off from life. This isn't about loneliness. It's about returning to yourself. Because when you step away from a relationship, you risk not only disconnecting from the other person, but from your own identity as well. In the effort to fix what's broken, you can lose your sense of self. But the goal here is very clear: to help you reclaim your center. No matter how shaken your relationship feels, the truth is that your inner value may still be fully intact, just buried under the dust of emotional fatigue. And that's exactly why I'm here. To remind you that you are not alone, that even in solitude, you can trust yourself. The goal isn't just to repair the relationship, it's to lift you up, to help you show up more clearly and confidently in every part of your life. Because once you restore self-respect and internal clarity, the question of whether to stay or go becomes much easier to answer. So don't retreat, don't shut down, don't isolate, okay? This is where a transformation actually begins. Taking space is only useful if it leads you back into life, not away from it. One of the most powerful things you can do in this phase is rebuild your social life. When someone structures their entire world around one person, any disruption, whether it's a breakup or a temporary distance, leaves behind an emotional void. But being in a relationship should never mean abandoning your own life. You need movement. You need meaning. You need connection. Your identity should be supported by friendships, hobbies, passions, and independent rhythms that keep you grounded. Social connection isn't just about having fun. It builds psychological resilience. Studies show that strong social ties improve brain health, reduce stress, and support emotional healing. So this is your moment to shift from "if Eric leaves, my world collapses" to "Eric may be part of my story, but I am the author of it." Start photography, travel, try something new, call your friends, join a community, keep your social life alive, because healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens through connection. If you don't nourish your individuality within a relationship, you begin to disappear. That's why this phase is about expansion, broadening your world through new conversations, new experiences, and new perspectives does more than just offer relief. It creates openings. Maybe a friend shares how they got through a similar breakup. Maybe a new connection makes you realize how much of yourself you've been neglecting. The social world isn't just an external space. It's a mirror for internal healing. And that mirror will remind you of something essential. You exist, and your life exists too. It's time to rebuild it. Taking a break from a relationship is a kind of emotional detox. Before that detox to work, you also need to step back from digital contact. Secretly checking their social media, watching their stories, asking mutual friends for updates. Each of these acts is a micro stimulus for your brain. And every time you do it, you re-enter the cycle of stress. Because what you see or think you see becomes a new narrative in your head. They're having fun. I guess they've moved on. From a neuroscience perspective, this kind of digital surveillance activates both the brain's reward system and its threat system at the same time. You feel hope and fear simultaneously. That contradiction destabilizes your dopamine regulation. The result, mental overactivity emotional collapse, and a shaken sense of self.
Don't forget to subscribe.
This is why cutting off contact during this period, no checking, no updates, no signals, is not just helpful, it's essential. Before you reconnect with yourself, you need to disconnect from the noise. And if they do reach out, respond with kindness but clarity. Remind them gently, we agreed to this time apart. Let's honor that. It's going to help both of us. This isn't a breakup. It's a pause, okay? And the healthier that pause is, the more solid anything that comes afterward can be. If they text, respond briefly and calmly, you don't have to ignore them completely, but you do have to create boundaries. Because true healing in a relationship begins the moment you stay loyal to yourself. Love or habit, ask your soul. Asking whether a relationship can be repaired is important. But there's another question that matters just as much. Is it even worth repairing? Because sometimes what we're dealing with isn't a broken bond. It's a toxic cycle. And the danger of that cycle is how subtle it can be. You may think it's love, but what you're really feeling is habit. Just like having tea every morning or walking the same street every day, it becomes part of your routine. But being part of your life is not the same as being meaningful to your life. From a neurological standpoint, habits are regulated by the basal ganglia, a part of the brain designed to automate repeated behaviors. Love, however, is built through the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. It involves emotional depth, conscious connection, and shared intention. To tell the difference between the two, you need a simple but powerful practice. Sit with yourself in a quiet, dark room, close your eyes, grab a notebook and a pen. Let your mind replay the relationship like a film, and pay attention. What's the first thing that comes up? If it's the shouting, the arguments, the letdowns, that might be habit, your brain pulls up what left the deepest emotional imprint. And if the first images are painful, maybe this relationship has given you more hurt than healing. But if you close your eyes and smile, even just slightly, at the memory of a quiet night dancing, or them bringing you dessert with a goofy grin, that's a root. And roots can regrow if they're still alive. This is where the real decision gets made. Is this just habit, or is there something alive beneath it all? Something still worth holding on to? Your soul will know it always, Louise. Because your deepest ally in this life isn't your body, it's your soul. And if you listen closely, it will tell you exactly which direction to go. So ask yourself, what taste has this relationship left in me? If it's sweet, maybe this is something worth rebuilding. But if the aftertaste is bitter and it won't go away, then maybe, just maybe, letting go is the most loving thing you can do. And if this video stirred something in you, a moment of clarity, a quiet ache, or just the realization that you're not alone in this, then I want you to know something important. You're not alone in this. There are people here who feel exactly what you're feeling, and your comment might be the message someone else desperately needs to read. So please share your thoughts. Where are you in all of this? What are you holding? How did these 5 steps sit with you? I'd love to know, okay? And if you want more content like this, don't forget to subscribe, because this channel isn't just about relationships. It's about the journey back to yourself. Each video is an invitation to grow stronger, to get clearer, and sometimes to just sit together in silence and understand. Take care of yourself, beautiful soul, and remember, sometimes the clearest decisions come from the quietest places.